In a universe filled with light and mystery, humanity has always asked the same question. How does science reveal the mind of God? And how does faith reveal the heart behind creation? This is Logos and Logic, where the language of physics meets the poetry of Scripture, and wonder becomes worship. The rational order of the universe. Science rests on the conviction that the universe behaves in an orderly and predictable manner. This is often called the principle of uniformity, and is what allows scientists to perform experiments and expect consistent results. Without that underlying trust in rationality, the very act of experimentation would be meaningless. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. Albert Einstein. Einstein's observation is not merely poetic, it captures the paradox that lies at the heart of modern science. Why should a random, purposeless cosmos operate according to elegant mathematical laws? Why should our minds, formed from dust and atoms, be capable of grasping the structure of galaxies, the behavior of subatomic particles, and the curvature of space-time? This orderliness suggests something profound about reality, that a reason precedes the material world, rather than emerging from it by accident. Physicist Paul Davies points out, science can proceed only if the scientist adopts an essentially theological worldview. Even the most atheistic scientist accepts as an act of faith the existence of a law-like order in nature. Paul Davies, the mind of God. Davies is not arguing for religion, but recognizing that science depends on faith in reason itself, a faith that the universe is coherent, intelligible, and governed by principles that can be discovered and trusted. The fine-tuning of constants, like the strength of gravity or the ratio of electron to proton mass, shows how delicately balanced these laws are. If any of these constants varied even slightly, life and the cosmos as we know it could not exist. This fine-tuning is not proof of divine design, but it raises a question science alone cannot answer. Why are the laws this way, and not otherwise? That why naturally opens the door to theology, the idea that there is not only order but intention behind the order. God as the source of law. Christian tradition does not see the universe as self-originating chaos, but as a creation born from divine rationality. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. Psalm 33:6-10. For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace, and 1 Corinthians 14:33. In both passages, the Creator is portrayed as a being of order, not disorder. A cosmic lawgiver who brings harmony out of chaos. To the early scientists who laid the groundwork for physics, Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, and Newton, this theological concept was not abstract dogma, but a working assumption. They believed that because the world was made by a rational creator, it must operate according to rational principles. Isaac Newton wrote, "This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being." Belief in a rational creator who made an ordered universe gives motivation and justification for doing science. If God has made the world intelligible, then our rational minds, also a gift, are meant to unravel its workings, thereby honoring the Creator. This worldview shaped the very concept of laws of nature. Before the rise of monotheism, ancient peoples described natural events as the whims of many gods or spirits, capricious and unpredictable. But in a world governed by one rational God, natural laws were no longer arbitrary. They were expressions of divine consistency. That shift in worldview, from myth to law, made science possible. The belief that nature had laws implied that those laws could be discovered. Religion gave birth to the expectation of regularity that science later confirmed. Belief in a rational creator encourages scientific discovery. The greatest pioneers of modern science saw no contradiction between faith and inquiry. To them, the study of nature was not an act of rebellion against God, but an act of reverence, an attempt to understand the divine architecture of creation. Johannes Kepler, whose equations described planetary motion with astonishing precision, famously said, "Enjikjet. I was merely thinking God's thoughts after him." Johannes Kepler. This statement reveals a profound humility. For Kepler, the universe was a vast and rational design, and mathematics was the language through which God had written it. To study physics was, in a sense, to read the handwriting of God. James Clerk Maxwell, who unified electricity, magnetism, and light under one set of equations, shared this conviction. He wrote, "I think the more we enter into nature's secrets, the more we shall be convinced that all things have been formed according to one great design." The belief in a rational creator also inspired a particular kind of optimism about discovery. If the universe is the work of intelligence, then human intelligence, made in the imago Dei, image of God, can, in principle, understand it. This belief lies at the philosophical foundation of empirical science, that reality is both structured and knowable. Job 12:7-9. Ask the beasts, and they will teach you, the birds of the air, and they will tell you, or the bushes of the earth, and let the fish of the sea declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? Even secular physicists acknowledge this connection. Nobel laureate Eugene Wigner called it the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in the natural sciences. Why should abstract symbols devised in the human mind correspond so perfectly to the structure of the cosmos? From a theological view, the answer is clear, because both originate from the same rational source. Thus, belief in a rational creator not only permits science, it propels it. It transforms observation into worship, experimentation into contemplation, and discovery into revelation. Faith as the foundation of inquiry. Science asks, how? Religion asks, why? The two are not adversaries, but partners in pursuit of the same reality. Science explores the mechanisms of creation. Faith explores the meaning and purpose behind them. The opening of John's Gospel brings these perspectives together in a single transcendent statement. In the beginning was the Word, Logos, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Through him all things were made. John chapter 1, 1-3. The Greek logos carries deep philosophical weight. It means reason, order, logic, and divine principle. John's claim is that the very logic by which the universe operates is not impersonal. It is personalized in God himself. In other words, the same rationality that physics describes is the logos that theology worships. The idea of nature being ordered and full of purpose, Psalm 104:24, points to intelligible structure. Science is essentially the exploration of that structure. So theologically, studying creation resonates with the concept of discovering the mind of the Creator. To the ancient world, this was revolutionary. The Creator was not beyond reason, but the source of reason. The same rational laws that hold atoms together are, in this view, echoes of the divine mind. This synthesis forms the moral and intellectual foundation of Western science. Faith in a rational creator gave birth to the confidence that the world could be studied, measured, and understood. Without that assumption, the practice of science might never have flourished as it did. In this way, both religion and science speak with a single voice. Religion tells us that the world was made through divine wisdom. Science reveals the precision with which that wisdom manifests in the constants of physics. Together they affirm that the laws of nature are not merely perfect mathematics, they are metaphysical, reflections of the lawgiver himself. Every discovery points beyond itself, toward a truth older than the stars. The laws of the universe whisper his name, and every question becomes an invitation to wonder. This has been Logos&Logic, where the language of physics meets the poetry of Scripture, and wonder becomes worship. Join us next week as we continue exploring how creation reveals the mind of God and the heart of grace. Until then, keep searching with reason and resting in wonder.